which I think is pretty awesome, but I'm wondering how we got through the others years prior to that, before we finally looked up and went, we should put it in writing, Jason.
Yeah.
And we should sign it.
Yeah.
That way we don't have disputes.
Exactly.
I know it took them that long, right? But anyway, so, and the US, was formed, right, in 1776, and the right to own property was established in the 5th and the 14th Amendments, right? 14th Amendments. Yeah. So you had this idea, talk about this. The Homestead Act.
Western Tri County.
Okay, somebody got it off.
Kelly Atkinson, you gotta go on mute.
Video, thank you. Okay, thank you. Yeah. So you have this whole idea that there are original grants, right? You go and take land, and if you lived on it so long, it's now yours.
Which would be awesome today, by the way.
Yeah, it'd be awesome, yeah. But what's interesting is that, and just you can read along this one, it says original land grantees grew older. Dang it, like I just did Monday. And by necessity needed to sell their real estate. And all of a sudden, the new industry of real estate sales reps, right, to exist. That's how we came into existence, as people ultimately wanted to start transacting and trading. And now they have legal rights. They have documented rights to it, and they don't want it anymore. And a marketplace was created, and representatives within that marketplace was created. And here we go. In terms of NAR, I'll let you read this. It's a great story about how the professional real estate industry came into being.
To my knowledge, it's the most complete collection of the history of our industry that you'll find, and I will title
It can, and it's concise too, right? So you have this whole idea again of going from a marketplace to a marketplace of professionals. What's interesting is that buyer agency was, let's go back. Yeah, there we go. So what's interesting, notice I'm skipping through, is the parallel between the US and Canada. So I want to just take you again through I want to take you through this. For Canada, same thing. It's not a complicated history, but the colonies were formed, and the two Canadas, right, were known collectively as British North America. In 1812, America tried to invade them.
I don't think most people know.
No. Donald Trump wasn't the first person to suggest it. And Canada successfully did it. This right here is, I don't know if you'll ever see this graphic anywhere else, but what we have an aha, and the aha is that Canada and the US run in parallel, right? And here's what that looks like. Add percentages to it. So in the United States, you have, if you want to know how the real estate industry mathematically comes into being, Jason, in the United States, you have 340 million people. 43% of that is in housing units, which means, by the way, that you have about 2.5 people on average living in each housing unit in America. Okay. You end up with 60% of those being single-family homes, and about 5.7% of those sell in any given year.
Okay.
What's weird is we then ran the percentages for Canada, and lo and behold, 43% of their population is sitting in housing units. So it's 17 million, 51, not 60 of them are single family, more condos, if you will, or multi-family home dwellings, right? So you end up with 8.7 million single family homes, 5.7 of those end up being,
Transaction.
yeah,
The fascinating thing for me is that these two economies are incredibly similar, and these numbers couldn't be worse.
no, and by the way, what matters most to everyone on this call is the bottom number there. And that is, we've reached a place where most likely, back in the Great Recession in America, I'll speak to that. The sales transaction number got down as low as 3.7 billion transactions, okay? All the way from 7.2. Right now, we have gone from 6.2 down to a little over 4. And people keep saying, can it get worse? It can always get worse. The odds of it getting worse, pretty slim to none. The reason is because the math has gotten us here. People, when we say, well, we got real estate, say, well, is the population growing? Or are there more adults? What's happening? Right? And there you go, right? We're making more people.
That's what we do.
We're making more people. Yeah, yes. So you have the industry. So the range is probably 4 to 6. For all of us, we probably be in our happy place anywhere above 4.5, closer to 5. I think we'd all be in a really happy place.
I would be.
Yeah, me too. Me too, probably.
But what the numbers came out today, it's 3.9 seasonally adjusted.
Like I said, we're right here at that 4. And by the way, the challenge is a sidebar on that. We'll talk about this at Mega Camp. But at the end of the day, the tariffs is what has created this conundrum. The feds were all ready to lower interest borrowing rates. And the second that our administration went after tariffs in a big way, it drove the Fed over to the fence, to the far right of this issue, and said, we don't like uncertainty. We have no idea what's going to happen. And so we're just going to sit over here. And they look up and they go, well, here's the interesting thing is, inflation is starting to go up. Unemployment is starting to go up. This would be the wrong time
Lower rates.
to lower rates.
And as a real estate agent, though, I want to lower the rates.
We do. And let me just back up and say one more thing, and that is, and I think Canada parallels to this, and that is it takes a minimum of 4 years to go in and out of a recession. It would be closer to 5. Okay. You're 2.5 years in.
So you're only halfway, if not more?
I don't think you're halfway. I think you're more than that. My prediction all along, and I'm going to stand by this, is that the real estate industry you'll start to really feel the positive side of it by midway or the third quarter of 2026. So you're a year away, maybe a little more, but not much. You're 12 months away, I believe, from you'll see movement and all that. Okay, and that's Gary Keller, write it down, and we'll see if I get a chicken dinner out of all of it. So our point to you guys is that underneath everything is the land. Without it, there's no home, city, or nation. In fact, it's all where we live. And it's a cherished and honored profession to be in the real estate business, to help people with their real estate needs. What was the percent? Is it 39% of all wealth in America
It's tied up in the equity.
is tied up in the equity in people's homes and commercial real estate?
By the way, Dan, we see in the chat that we're peaking on the microphones. Our audio team is working on that as we speak.
I'm so sorry about that. Do you want to move the microphone closer?
I think it's on there. They're gonna play with the words.
Okay, great. Okay. So this is an interesting thing. Think of it this way. The real estate industry is really comprised of 3 arenas: licensed agents, potential buyers and sellers, and the marketplace of willing buyers and sellers. So you can think of it like this. And then on the far left, we've got everyone who's got a license. On the right, we have the circle of the pool of potential buyers and sellers. That doesn't make a marketplace. The marketplace is when willing buyers and willing sellers are represented by a real estate agent through a agreement, which is the purpose of this class. We have always said long before any of the changes that have happened in the last few years that buyers should be listed just like sellers. There's no reason not to.
You go back to FLEA, you laid out buyer listings and seller listings.
Yeah, it's 20-some years ago. Yeah, because yes, absolutely. Because you should work under an agreement. You should work under a contract. You should not be working on a handshake. Right? So this is all about going from handshake to agreements. That's what this class is about, right? Yeah. Okay, let's jump to the myths. So in our mind, there's a handful of myths. We list them there as 9. Let's just go through these. The myths about getting agreements. So we wake up in the morning, all of this is to say, we wake up in the morning, we have a real estate marketplace. It's going to be between in the US, 4 million and 6 million, 400,000 square out of Canada. That's where it's going to be. Okay. And you can count on that for the rest of your life. It's going to be like that, right? And we want to operate in that marketplace through written agreements. Okay. It makes everything clean. Again, it's what you're willing to do, put in writing, and what the buyer or seller is willing to do, that is put in writing. Makes it clear, right? But there's some myths about it. And that is number 1, getting the agreement is an event and is the goal. No, it's not. It's helping people make a good decision is the goal. And by the way, if reaching an agreement is the decision that should be made, you should be prepared to do that instantly.
But there's a million books on how to close and quote unquote objection to all these things to get to agreement, but very few written on the consultative approach.
Well, that's our approach. Yeah. Number 2 is the only acceptable answer is yes. No. The acceptable answer is whatever is good for the buyer or the seller. By the way, if that's yes, that's awesome. If it's no, just remember that no usually means not yet. It means not yet. But our goal is not to talk people into things. Our goal is not for people to do things they shouldn't do. Our goal is to help people decide what they should do. And if they need representation, we'd like to be the people to represent them. And that's the way we think about this, right? And agreements and contracts are complicated and they're difficult to understand. No. Yeah, by the way, contracts absolutely, by and large, are usually complicated. But your goal as a professional is to break all of this down because you understand the forms so well that you can easily demystify and simplify it for your buyers and sellers. And that will give them great comfort. It will also build trust. So many real estate agents have all these forms and they've never sat down and actually read them all, circled them, any questions they had and got them answered so that they understand top to bottom what these forms do.
Yes.
Yeah. Getting to agreement is contest of wills. It's a collaboration. It's not a contest. And again, the place that we come from in writing all this is too many people teach getting to agreement as a contest and kind of a sales process instead of a consultative decision process.
Yeah, I mean, you even hear people saying, well, we use linguistic programming to get people to say the things we want. We come in from the opposite perspective.
Absolutely. Yeah, I threw all that out the window.
It doesn't make
I just threw it out. The goal was to help people have all the information they need in order to make a good decision and then lead them through the decision-making process.
That's a call. When you wake up every morning with that in your heart, you feel wildly fulfilled about the work that you do.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it later about what that actually sounds like. But it's essentially what are my options? What's all the information about each of those? What are the pros and what are the cons? And how do I feel about that?
Yes.
And that's simply a decision-making process. And once you notice how I just said it, once you get that right, what are the choices, what are the information behind all of them, what are the pros of each, the cons of each, and how do I feel about any of them? That's the framework of a consultant, Jason.
Yeah, you use that to help people make decisions for all across their lives and business.
I use it in my own life, but yes, that's the consultative approach, right? Yeah.
Sean says, you just described real estate agents being trusted advisors, not salespeople.
Yeah, what am I selling? I understand that people buy and sell real estate, but I'm not actually doing that. They are. I'm consulting the buyer and seller. I'm like the coach on the sideline. I'm certainly not in there actually selling something. I never had a seller go, well, you sold me into selling my house. Or a buyer say, I can't believe you talked me into that house.
Right.
It never happened. In all my years, I never had one buyer or seller walk in the door and say, that tricky agent, they were so sly, that slick talking devil talked me into all of these things. Never happened.
No,
But why?
because you're consulting.
Well, because that's exactly, well, even if you tried to sell them, you didn't.
Right.
That's my point. My point is, all of this sales technique is really about decision-making technique. And that's where the industry has been evolving the last couple of decades. Definitely in my life, it moved away from that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. By the way, this myth about we put pressure on people. No. I mean, you can put the question to them. And if that creates pressure, that would be positive pressure. But you don't use tricky things to say or any sort of sales techniques that you force people into
So often.
pressure. Pressure is just natural.
Helping them get clear on why they're moving should create the pressure.
It does automatically.
You don't have to do anything other than uncover it.
If you're the pressure, you're the bad guy. So don't do that. Yeah, that's a myth. Don't do that. Getting to an agreement is a decision-making process driven solely by persuasive skills. Well, we've covered that. It's not. It's driven by decision-making skills, not persuasive skills.
Yes.
Right. Decision-making skills. Yeah. Number 7, more information is always better. More of the right information is. Loading people up on information. By the way, just as a sidebar, this is why the internet just drives people more to professionals than away from them.
Yeah, every tech company thought that the internet was going to replace the real estate agent.
Yeah.
All the polls show that at some point they have all this data and they want a trusted advisor to sit with them and clarify it. And then say, you don't need these 300 pieces of data. This is your need.
Yeah, too much data will confuse people right out of the desire to do anything.
Yes.
And you don't want to do that, right? People are driven purely by logic and clearly know what they want. That's not true at all. I mean, when I got in the industry, there was a phrase that said buyers are liars.
Okay.
And I think the reason why is because the buyer hadn't fully thought through what they wanted and what they needed, and they couldn't delineate between the two. So because of that, they would say one thing, but then like they say, I want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, ranch style, single story. And the next thing you know, they buy a 2-story, 4-bedroom, 3-bath,
In there.
Yeah. I experienced it right off the bat early in my career. And we come in the office and all these, oh yeah, buyers are liars. What I discovered was real estate agents were really bad at not helping people discern what they needed and then what they wanted, and trying to blend that into some sort of a concept of what the house should be.
Gary Wersch, he represented.
No, we're arm wrestling right now on live TV. Number 9, relationships negate the need for an agreement. Whoa. Danger, Will Robinson. Do not do that. No, just don't do it. And by the way, the worst thing you can do to your friendships or your relatives is not have an agreement.
Why?
Well, because I call them a disagreement. And that is the only time you ever meet them is when you disagree.
I guess
And
that's true.
among relatives, if there's a disagreement of any kind, if you don't have proof that you're right, they're right by default. That's why written agreements matter. In the professional world, if there's a disagreement between us, and let's say I'm the real estate professional and you're my client, if there's a disagreement and it's done in writing, you win.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, because now it's just your word against mine,
Sure.
and the customer's always right,
There you go.
unless there's an agreement.
Yes.
If there's a written agreement, the written agreement is always right.
Yes.
Yes, they forget to say that.
That's it.
So in the school of professionalism, we use written agreements. It's because they're always right.
100%.
Yeah. I learned that early in my 20s because I'd get in discussions with people and I'd go, that's not how I remember it. And they would say, well, I remember very clearly and it's this. And I realized we're now in a combat of opinions. And I can't tell them, I'm sorry, I know that you think I said that, or that that happened or whatever, but actually,
I didn't say that.
I didn't say that. Yeah, you're wrong. That's not gonna work out well for you. No, so this is why we wanna master the art of helping people collaboratively to get to an agreement.
When I used to watch it, you would pull your hair out on stage at Mega Camp, trying to
That's what happens
convince people
here.
to use buyer's agreements.
Oh my,
It was my whole career you've been yelling about.
30-something, 40 years. Yeah, yes, absolutely. And again, for all the reasons we just said, and that is, it just makes sense. It's good business. It's good business practice. It's the way consultants would do business. Yes, that's right. And now you have to leave it, so kind of messed up. If you want to get paid.
If you want to get paid.
Yeah, if you want to get paid. If you don't want to get paid, don't do it. You're just a person doing stuff.
We're all gonna do it.
We're all gonna do it. Yeah, so how do you do it, right? Yeah. So here's the way we think about it. We think about it, let's put it like this. We think about it as literally three things. You can either present, or you can consult, or you can present and you can consult. And we believe that you present and you consult.
Yes.
Right? So presenting is one way and has the goal of delivering information. Let me present this to you, Jason, right?
And I'm listening.
Yeah, right. The consultation is a two-way conversation. It has the goal of identifying problems and solving them.
Mhm.
Remember, again, in the world of profession, in the world of business, let me just stop and say, the world of business is built around problems that people know that they have that you're solving. Doesn't no good to solve a problem no one recognizes they have or even cares about.
That's me.
No, but helping people collaboratively figure out how to get in touch with the problems that they have, the challenges or the opportunities, however you want to say it, and helping them make a decision. Yeah, there you go. Solving that, that's the whole issue. So the truth of the matter is real estate professionals do both. They use their sales skill to tie it all together and they open, right? And then present and help clients make their best decisions. You definitely, when it's time for you to present your value proposition, you present. When it's time for you to explain your workflows that supports the value, you're going to present. There's no question about that. When you hand them the agreement to go through it, you are presenting the agreement to them. So presentation absolutely exists in any profession, right? In real estate's no exception, right? So here's what we think about it. We think about it as bookends. On one end, you establish goals, and on the other end, you reach agreement. In the middle,
Things have to happen. We gotta understand the needs, we gotta be able to present our value, and then all of this is underpinned by our sales skills or ability to convey the information.
yeah, that's exactly right. And remember again, sales skills is that those words are fine. Sure. This idea of sales skills, which we identify as decision-making skills.
Yes.
Right? Yes. All right. So let's go into this a little detail. And that is the first bookend is how you get to the conversation and establish the goals for the meeting. For sellers, the goal is to help them decide if they want to sell at home or not. Right? And if they do, how much can they get for it? For buyers, it's to decide if they want to buy a home or not. And what can they afford? What do they want? What do they need?
Yes.
So the first bookend is this conversation you have with people, but you have a goal in that conversation.
Okay.
And that's to determine, do I have somebody who actually
Should move and wants to.
yeah, or buy.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. Either way, yeah. Number two is we gotta get to the middle. In the middle is around needs, wants, analysis.
And my value.
Yeah, what do you need?
Okay.
And what do you want?
Okay.
And blend that together. So now we're real clear. We understand what problem we're solving for. And then it's presentations around your value skill, your value proposition and your workflows that support your value proposition.
That's my brand promise.
Yeah, so thank you for saying that. So if you think about this, the way that, can they see this?
Yeah. We'll find out.
Okay, great. So if you think about this, what he just said is, this is, you start off with your brand And by the way, that can either be a brand that you invented, or it's just you,
Mhm.
because you are the brand promise.
In the real estate business, that's prevalent. They know me as their agent. I'm the brand.
Yeah, and so the brand promise says, I'm going to bring you this value of services. And the way I'm gonna do this is through my workflow,
Yes.
my workflows, right? And that's it. That's the real estate industry. And what happens is, real estate agents never know, they don't have a, most of them don't have a promise. They don't, their brand themselves don't stand for much anything. Other than I'm a professional and I go be myself. They haven't figured out what their value of services actually are. Here are the things I'm gonna do for you. One of the things that we've discovered is with top agents, when they sat down and listed all the things they did in order to explain how they get paid, they claimed that what they earned per transaction had actually gone up, not down. That's the opposite of what all the lawsuits was about. Once people understood exactly what they were paying for, which was the goal of the suit, by the way.
Yes.
What was unpredicted is they believed that they thought what people got paid would go down.
Hmm.
And among top agents, our surveys say it went up.
The people
Because we
value.
do a lot, and they're very clear about articulating the value.
That's why we wrote value squared. Remember, this
That's
is,
why we did.
it's just a two-step. Value squared is the value I give equals the value I get.
Yeah.
This is the last step about that.
And the last one is workflows, right? The last one is workflows. So we have this needs analysis, which includes wants as well. And then it's presenting our value proposition or our value of services and our workflows that deliver those, right? And how we deliver it. And then it's we use our skills, our sales skills, our decision-making skills, if you will.
Yes.
And that's pretty much. And the last one is call for action. And that's putting the agreement in front of them.
Yes.
And don't ever be afraid of putting an agreement somewhere, Jason.
No.
They can always say no, they can always say not yet. They can say, is it negotiable? They can say all these things. We're still gonna have to get there.
Sure.
So you have to get comfortable with that now, right? So there's a way, when we think about this idea, some think that learning to pair a script created by someone else is a better approach than learning to fully consult a client. They do, they just tell me what to say, tell me when to say it, how to do it. By the way, that is step number one. Make no mistake about it. You memorize a presentation, either you write it out. We highly recommend that as a professional, you write out your presentation, right?
When you write out the frameworks, you write out the key points, and then practice the heck out of it.
You know, what would be the outline of the conversation? What would be the questions at the front end? Around needs. What would be my explanation on professionals learn how to do something through reps, right? Let me back up. Everybody in life actually masters something through reps, repetition, right? Sure. So the only question in life is not are you gonna do repetition? The question you're gonna ask is, where do I get my reps in? And the challenge is that most real estate agents go out and say, I'm gonna get my reps on live patients.
There's not enough of them.
No. Early in your career for sure, but again, even if yes, let's just suffice to say that you're correct. When you're learning all of this, you will not get enough patients, cadavers to operate on.
Correct.
Which means you need to go find your conversation framework, buddies or pals or another agent. I had one, and his name was Tim. And this is exactly what we did every morning. We went through our frameworks, our conversations and presentations of value and workflows. And that, I got really good at it. And I needed to because I was actually afraid to talk to people. I'm gonna make a mistake, I'm like stupid, I'm a farmer, all these kind of things are gonna happen. And
But by the end
none
of,
of that ever happened.
the end of your day with him was probably the hardest conversations you had all day.
Yeah, so we spent 30 minutes, that's all we did. And we started the conversation by saying, Jason, why don't you buy it?
No,
Yeah, that was the standard answer. Our first line was always no. And then it was obviously ever that way, feel that way, you might share with me what that is. And I put the pressure on you, I blew right past your answer. I put the pressure on you to now articulate exactly what you're thinking. We're off and running. So we definitely played the tough game, right? And then the last is, once you understand all the moving parts, you can extemporize.
what does it separate?
It means that you walk in and your presentation is no longer just a standardized flow. In your mind, you see the component parts. You understand the value of each of them, and you can move them around any way you want. And after time, once you understand what you're trying to accomplish, you will end up using different words at times based upon who you're talking to.
So you're Jedi.
Yeah, we may get to the same place. We could be very different than the next person. And so that presentation really wasn't like that. I said, well, they're two different people. Understand, I have a framework. I've internalized all of that framework, right?
It's like watching you do CV. You're gonna get there, and it might sound different each time.
Yep. So it looks like that. All right, so here we go. You want to take over and drive?
Sure. So we're going to consult people to an agreement, and we laid out this idea of these general buckets. Be on time and local park. Know why you're there and be present at all times. So you may leave the cell phone in the car. A list of questions to fuel the
Well, let's
conversation.
back up. Be on time and look the part. That's it. Okay. Make sure that you're on time and you look the part. And what part are we trying to look on?
The profession. In whatever market you're in, and what that means to your client base.
That's right. And the last one is, and be prepared.
Yes.
You know, it's so funny about look the part. You know, when I got out of college, I had a Fu Manchu and kind of a mini afro. And I wore, like 4-inch blocks. Yeah, it's absolutely true. My fraternity brothers who are coming into town next week, my college buddies will attest to that. But I read this book called Dress for Success.
Okay.
Shaved my mustache, cut my own hair, and went to the store and bought the clothes. And I looked the part.
Sure.
Once I became the part, that wasn't as important because I wasn't.
Yes.
I was it. But the last one is be prepared. And that is, you go in prepared to discuss anything or to go call a friend.
And that's what a professional is.
Yeah.
I know what I know, I know what I don't know, and if I don't know, I'll go find out.
That's it. That's right.
Know why you're there and be present at all times.
Yeah, you're there to help them make a decision and remember that and don't go down buddy trips.
Let questions be the fuel.
Well, the person who asks the most questions always wins, right?
Mhm.
That was the tight end. But that's true. The person who asks the most questions wins. And it's kind of like people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. But the only way you can really show caring is by asking.
Yes.
You can't show caring by talking.
No, when people don't feel understood. Keep things simple, organized, and on point. What do you mean there?
Yeah, simple. And that is, keep your presentation short and to the point. Don't over dramatize any of that, but make sure that it's organized and it's on point to get them to go, wow, those are all the things I needed.
Yes.
It would be, right, if you're like the person in the clothing store, and I said, do you like that? No. Do you like that? No. Do you like that? No. You don't have that option here. When you lay out your presentation, it needs to be simple so they get it, organized so they can track it, and it has to meet them where they are. It has to help them, if they're trying to sell their home, it has to help them see that you're the person that can do that, because that's all they want. You're there because they want someone to help them.
Yes.
You're not there because they're kicking tires and they're going to talk to 10 agents. Statistically, they talk to one
That's a big
or
question.
two.
Right, but here's why that matters so much. If you can go in a tight presentation, answer all their questions before they ask, you're like 80% of the time gonna get the deal.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Use sales skills, data stories, testimonials to convey your value. We're gonna talk about that. and then facilitate decisions and agree on actions. So let's get into this. Okay, the basis of all great conversations are questions. You kind of understood that and explained why. We laid out a framework that broke questions into two parts, open-ended and closed-ended.
Yeah.
How do you think about open-ended?
Well, right here, open-ended is more than a single word, right? So an open-ended question is, so Jason, what did you do last night?
Right, I can tell you the whole story. I play video games all night, but
Well,
right.
you could say video games, and then you would come back with another open-ended question. You go, so what game did you play?
Elden Ring, it's endless.
And how long did you play?
Many, many hours.
Yeah. You can use closed-ended questions, which are single word answers, and still string together a conversation. But it's the open-ended question. And that is, folks, tell me what you're looking for in a home. That's open-ended. I have no idea where we're going, right? But tell me why you folks are selling. You have no idea what they're fixing to say.
Nope.
Yeah, there you go.
The key to the open-ended is it causes people to stop, think, and then reply. Then we have this idea of closed-ended questions. These can be answered in one word. Would you buy a home? Would you buy a split level?
No.
Would you buy a triplex?
No.
There we go. Now we're off and running. And what we did here is we gave you the definitions, we gave you the way to think about it, and then we started breaking them into buckets. So what you see here are closed-ended questions for both sellers and buyers. Would you like to meet at 2:00? It's closed-ended because you're giving me one of those things. What's your ideal timeline to buy? You're giving me back an answer. And here we go. Same with open. So what are the primary goals for selling houses? Exactly. Here's the best way to practice this right now. They sit down in a room with someone and just ask each other open-ended questions. No replies, just more questions. Why did you ask that?
Just play this game.
Just play this game. And the longer you play, the better at it.
You'll get really good at understanding that you have two ways to go. I can either invite a conversation or I can kill it.
Yes.
And it's okay to kill it. Closed-ended questions that have single word answers are okay.
They both have their place.
They have their place, so sure.
Once you get done with questions.
However, it's funny watching my son and his wife parent my grandkids because they don't use closed-ended questions.
Everything is an open-ended one?
Yeah, would you like to go to bed at 7 or 7:15? Would you like to read a book or go directly to bed without one?
So they're giving you illusion of choice with both acceptable answers.
Always giving a choice to these kids, but at the end of the day, all roads lead to bed. But lights out at 7:30.
Well,
I mean, it's all roads lead to that, and the question is, you're gonna say, get to bed.
it's probably a little different at Bob's house.
Well, in my house.
You have closed-ended questions.
No, but I also have open-ended, and that is, they go, Papa, we want s'mores, standard thing in our house, right? We do them under the stove or the fireplace, right? Doesn't matter what time of year, it's always s'mores, we love s'mores.
All year.
All year.
Summer s'mores, winter s'mores.
We have s'mores, right? Papa, let's have s'mores, okay. Well, do you guys want to, and then I'm gonna phrase whatever I'm trying to get them to do.
It makes the s'more the reward.
Yeah. So would you rather do this or this in order to get a s'more?
Right. Here we go. All right. Once, as we crush questions, we now get into this idea of telling stories.
Okay.
Why are stories so important?
Well, because people drop down emotionally travel with you. And it's easier to make a point when it's not pointed at somewhere. So it's easier. I always, I said, well, if you look at the great religious prophets of all ages, they're just all storytellers. And it's because the story is easy to remember. And again, it's a way to make a point without being pointed.
So we get into this. The other thing about stories is that it charges.
One last thing. Okay, one last thing. And people make an emotional connection to a story.
Because it charges both sides of the brain. It hits the logical side of the brain and the creative side, which is why they're more easily remembered. So when we think about stories, there's really two questions.
Okay.
What's the key point I wanna make?
Okay.
And then what story am I gonna tell to make it?
So if you're not a collector of stories, you can't tell them.
Right. And if you don't know what point you're trying to convey, you tell disjointed and the wrong stories at the wrong
And
time.
you don't have to tell someone else's story.
I didn't know. You may start doing that at the beginning until you have your own, but you can tell life stories to make points about real estate. I'm gonna show you what I do right now.
Yeah, it's no different, yeah, 100%.
In the end, we're all storytellers. So this is a great example.
Okay.
I want everyone to just hear you tell one story, and then I'm going to explain why you tell it. So how would you have told this
Don't do what I've done. This is kind of how you say that, like, and that is, in my very first home, I looked and looked, and I found this awesome ranch style, single family, older home. The neighborhood looked great, the price was awesome, had a nice backyard for a dog. And every day I drove by the house, literally, Jason, and I sat in my car in front of it. It was vacant,
So how's dreaming?
thinking about it.
Okay.
And on the fifth day, I drove by, and there was a sold sign.
Huh.
I immediately went out for my second choice. Now, I loved my second choice, but I would hope that you could get your first choice. So we have to be ready when we see it, we have to know if it's it or not. And if it's a really great property, you won't be the only one who wants it. So we need to be able to tie that up as fast as we can, so you have the opportunity to buy it. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
Okay, so here's what we need to do in order to be prepared.
Okay, so what you just saw brilliantly is what are the key points I want to make? Don't do what I did. If you wait, you can miss it on your dream house. You need to be prepared to act. What's the best story to tell? It turned out that was one from your life.
Yeah, but everyone could tell my story.
Of course.
See, the story we just gave you, just say, you know what? Let me tell you what happened to Gary Keller when he was in his 20s.
Let's do one more.
Oh, this is funny. Well, I wrote about this in the Millionaire Real Estate Investor because it changed my life. So Mary and I every summer, when we were dating, we went down to the beach with the Williamses.
Okay.
Anyway, we made that a good deal.
Keller and Williams at the beach?
Yes.
That could be a movie.
Yeah, they're right. And every year, Mary and I thereafter, we went to the beach.
Okay.
And we were there one year, and we always stayed in the same complex, third or fourth floor, corner.
Okay.
One day we get in the elevator to go up, and there's a Coldwell Banker agent in the elevator.
Okay.
My wife, being my wife, says, "Oh, do you have any good deals?" And one said, "Well, as a matter of fact, I do."
Huh.
And it was a condo, right on the corner unit, other side of the building, right where it needed to be, and it was 160,000. Well, those things were going from 250 to 300.
So you knew it was you.
That's a 3-bedroom, 3-bath, a 3.5-bath corner unit. That's a steal. But we weren't ready, right? And we looked at it, and 2 days later, we went home, or 3 days, we went home, and we talked about it, and said, you know what, we should buy that. We can't lose money. And when I called the agent up, she just laughed at me, said, honey, I sold that to the next people that saw it. By the way, the reason it was priced what it was is because it was inherited by someone who didn't live in the state, and they just wanted their money. They said, well, how can I get money fast? And they said, well, put it at this price, someone steal it, right?
Yeah.
But apparently it wasn't going to be the Keller Fluker family.
So the takeaway on this story, the point of the story, the reason you're telling it?
Yeah, again, don't wait. When you see it and you know it, don't wait. And this is why, sidebar, I told that in the Real Estate Investor. The reason I told it there was you can't be a part-time investor. I said, well, I don't have any money. That doesn't matter. Money's not your problem. If you had the money, I was driving in my truck one day with the lead guitarist for a rock band in Australia called the Little River Band.
Okay.
Anyway, so we were driving in the truck after a performance and just talking. And he said, but I have any money. I said, okay, well, I have money. What will we invest in today? He goes, well, I don't know. I have to look. I said, psh, that's your problem.
You were illustrating the point. It isn't the lack of money, it's that he didn't have the money.
Yeah, he didn't know what he would invest in to begin with. And so my point to people is you should never be a part-time investor. You should always walk around and say, I have $1 I'm willing to invest, or I know I can find people that will invest. What would we invest in? And always be on the lookout.
So the moral of the story when it comes to stories is know the points you're trying to make and then build the stories around it. We gave you a few other examples here. In the chat, we have a question from Nicole. She says, I'm currently working with several for sale by owners. Is there a specific story you'd like to tell them to help them see the value of hiring a real estate agent?
That's a big event.
We'll have to give that a
I
spot.
don't know that I have one like that.
Perfect.
By the way, I would probably use statistics for them.
And for me, I would simply use math and a net sheet. I would explain to a seller and make sure that every for sale by owner understands exactly what their costs are. More often than not, they look up and say, okay, I get the costs, and now explain the value. There's 100+ moving pieces to a real estate transaction. Most people don't know what they all.
Well, the story I would tell you is the first listing I ever took was for sale by owner. Gene Wally Smith was his name.
I can't believe you remember the person's name.
I do. And so anyway, so I pulled up to meet him at the house. We go in, it's vacant, he's moved out already. And I said, look, let me ask you a question. If I could find you a buyer that would net you what you would need to net in order to sell it, would you be willing to sell it and pay me a commission? He said, well, sure, if I needed what I needed to net. I said, awesome. Let's go through the house. So I made him walk me through the house. I mean, that took like an hour and a half to 2 hours. So I made him walk me through the house. Sure. Right. Really, I wanted to understand everything. Then we sat down and there was a table and 2 chairs that were in the house. And we sat down at it. And I said, okay, well, before I leave, we should go through the seller net sheet so I understand and you understand that if I brought you an offer, the flow of money.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I just started to talk like they talking. And I went right through there and said, okay, title policy would be this would be this would be this, you'd pay this would be negotiable, blah, 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 blah. We didn't get through the list. And he just looks at me and goes, how much did you charge me just to handle this? That was my first business.
You gave a lot of perspective.
Well, I went in presumptively that, because if he hires me, I'm gonna go look for a buyer.
Sure. Right.
Okay, so I'm always looking for buyers.
All the time.
Now, I might find someone who would want to buy his home. If I do, I need to know if this is available to them. And I can always tell that back to the other agents as well, but we need to understand what it is.
Absolutely. So here are the 6 rules of storytelling.
But one more second, please. Thank you for the question. And number 2, you should go around your market center and keep asking until someone has some stories for you that they personally have about that.
Yeah, Phil, by the way, we've gotten this question a bunch of times. This stuff is pure gold. Will these slides be available? 100%. These slides are going to be in Connect along with the reader's version of the course. So, general rules of thumb for storytelling.
Go through it.
So, when you live a great story or hear one, write it down.
Yeah, that's right.
You want to be capturing stories.
Yeah. What I learned in my 20s was I just carry a spiral notebook with me at all times. And I do that because that's how you have a perfect memory for the things you want to remember.
You're a note taker.
I'm a note taker, right? Yeah. So by the way, though, if you get in that habit of being a note taker, it's not weird for you then to have your collection of stories that you just write down. Oh, that's a good one.
Yep, 100%. Keep it short.
Yeah, always.
Don't try to be funny. It's okay if it's naturally funny, but don't force it.
No.
By the way, you get found out really quickly. And no off color, no vulgarity.
Yeah, funny story.
Yes.
Okay, so my sales manager for Sam Fitzgerald, when I first got in real estate, he said, come on, I'm gonna show you how to preview a home. And he said, I have a listing in the couple, their way it works. So we just go through it and I'll show you how, what to look for and all that. Awesome, here we go. So we drive over to the driveway, we get out, we walk in, he opens the lock box, walks in, says, Realtor, nobody answers, right? We start walking through the house. The way the house was designed, it's got this long hallway.
Okay.
And you got the living area and everything over here. The hallway's the bedrooms, right?
Okay.
So we start to go down the hallway, and the way the master bedroom was set up in the bathroom, when you got to a certain spot, you could see right through the door of the master bedroom at an angle, right into the shower.
Okay,
So we walk, we hear something, we stop. Sam looks up and goes, "We gotta go right now." He said, "That's not the husband."
oh.
True story, my first experience. So it can be funny, this story can be funny, don't try to be funny, right?
But we all know the moral of that story.
There's a little off color,
But no vulgarity and no belittling of others, and the no belittling of others is there's this idea that you're going up against all these other agents and talking down about other real estate agents, talking about how it brings you up.
no, sure.
It's patently absurd. The math doesn't play that out. 80% of the time, they're only interviewing one agent. So all of that is in your head.
You know, the thing that when I go in my mind back to the days of working with sellers in particular, I had this in my head, this thing going around that said, "I'm here to serve, I'm here to serve, I'm here to help them get the best price, right? The least amount of hassle, the shortest amount of time. That's why I'm here." And I believe somehow that translated to them. I think that because underneath everything, this is what I was trying to convey.
That was your energy.
I think it was my energy.
Yeah,
And I'm
you're a
not
teacher,
listening.
so it makes sense that would be your
Highly
energy.
recommend it.
Avoid jargon, they might not know what you mean, and if you don't have your own stories, feel free to use others.
Hey,
Okay, so let me build this.
okay,
We talked about where the industry was, we've talked about the marketplace,
we have 20 minutes left, 30 minutes left.
we're perfect.
Okay, good.
We talked about using the questions and the stories to be in the consultative process.
Yes.
So now let's get really specific.
Okay, well,
So here's how this goes. We're gonna talk about seller core services and buyer core services. In the chat, someone said, can you talk about what value you would present that would set you apart from others? You should go take Value Square.
we wrote that.
That whole course is that.
It answers that question.
In that course, we describe this framework, and we're now gonna go through it and talk about how we would say it. So,
Can I give you a short, can I give
yes,
a short answer to that?
please.
Just write out the process of what it takes to buy a home and the process to sell. Now, we wrote it out here, in short form, right?
In Value Square, we did long.
Yes, and so you would simply go through all the steps, just write it out, and then you would ask the question, how do I bring value to them?
Yes.
What am I going to do that would bring value to them? And when you answer that question, you've actually written your presentation, you've actually written your brand promise, you've actually written the services and how you'll provide them. It's all in that process of just writing out. And the way to do it is just make a list of, you know, the 10 to 15 things that go into selling a home and buying a home. And then saying, well, how am I gonna handle that? And what problems that solve for them, or what value, how does that make them better? Or how does that make them more money? Or how does that make it happen faster?
Yeah, by the way, Xavier says, love Value Square Workshop. By the way, some of those goodies are in the new bowl. I noticed.
It is.
Exactly right. By the way, market centers, bring Xavier out to your market center to teach Value Square. He teaches incredible. I'll tell you that. All right, so here we go. So let's talk sellers first.
Did you walk through it though? Go back.
We're gonna hit each point as we.
Okay, fair.
Okay, so here we go. So let's talk sellers first. Where do I get the Value Square course? Love that, Lisa. You can get that in Connect and go ask your market center to teach it, and they will be thrilled to do so.
Yes.
So, what does sellers want? What's
You
the
get
goal?
done tomorrow.
You get it done tomorrow. Tell them to teach tomorrow. What's the goal of this?
Yeah, they want to just, it moves down 90% on physics.
You need to have that in your head as you figure out your value. Because if you don't, you end up with all sorts of stuff that don't get
Keep
you
it
there.
simple, do it fast, and get me a lot of money.
Here you go. Our framework is consulting to the decision, market the property, negotiate the contract, close the sale. We're gonna hit consulting to the decision, so we get to agreement. So here's how this goes. For each one of the sections we're about to show, we simply answer 4 questions. What is this section? What are you actually going to do? What do you hope to accomplish? How do you do it? And then what wouldn't you do?
And remember, the whole point of all of this is that when you get to the buyer or seller agreement, they just are ready to sign.
Yeah,
if you have to sell them on signing, you have messed up in the consultative process.
Yes,
Right, all of this is to get to a foregone conclusion that they're hiring. If
absolutely.
they're doing business, you're the one they're hiring. That's your goal. So you consult and present your way to an easy signature without
Yes,
having to have all these tricky skills to get them to sign things.
you would have,
Yeah.
you will sign. Yeah, you don't need any of that.
No, you don't.
So the first step here that we laid out in Value Squared was do the needs analysis and do the home walkthrough. So what is needs analysis and home walkthrough in your own? words?
Yeah, so the way I did it was, I drew a line down the middle of the page and I said, want and needs. And I said, if you would take a second, I want you to write down all your wants. And then after that, I want you to look over and say, well, what was missing? That would be an extra bonus or something I might,
So in
no,
the,
I'm sorry, need, what I need. And then on the flip side, it's, and what extras would I want? What would be nice to have?
so in this case, for the seller, we're dividing that into how quickly do they want to sell,
That's
where
it.
they want to go. So
That's
the
it.
needs analysis is the conversation framework that answering the question. Here's the question. Why are they selling their property and what do they hope to accomplish while selling it? What are you going to do? What do you hope to accomplish? You're doing this because until you know the goal, you can't help them get there or even decide if you're the right solution. You're doing it for two primary reasons. First, to inform you, and second, and this is a key one, so that if and when you have a challenge down the road in the transaction, you can remind them why they're moving to begin with. So what exactly do you do?
You know, the best line in the world that I ever heard, and this isn't a sales technique, it's a decision-making technique. If someone comes in and lowballs by $5,000, we've negotiated and we're still $5,000 apart, I'm making the number up. And the seller's adamant, I'm not taking a penny less. It's okay. I hear you. Let me give you perspective. Would you buy, pick a price, 400,000. Would you buy this home for 395,000 with the hopes that you could flip it for 400?
Yeah.
That's what you're doing right now.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what you're doing. You're buying it back at 395.
That's 100% right.
If they're willing to take it at 395, if they don't, that's what you're doing. And then you're hoping to make $5,000 more out of it.
People get emotional about this.
Well, that's how when you get to small numbers, it's the best way to get them to have perspective.
So I want to talk about this, and we're going to give you all of these so you have the questions. The first one's really important. Why do you agree to be right over here today? That gets you down the road.
So by the way, the way you would say that is, Jason, thank you so much for agreeing to meet with me today. Can I start off by just asking you a simple question?
Yes,
Okay, that's a close-ended question.
yes, that's right.
Why did you agree to meet today?
And now we're off,
And that's an open-ended
and
question.
now we're going to go.
That's right.
And all of these questions that you can ask, you see a mix of open and closed.
And by the way, you don't have to ask that one either. You can literally just walk in and say, thank you so much for this opportunity to visit with you. I'm hoping we set aside enough time that we can really go deep into this, because the first thing I'd like to do is to take a walk through the property. And I want you to treat me as if I'm a buyer, but I want you to tell me about the house. And if it's okay, I'm going to answer your questions. Would that work?
Yes,
Do you have a tape measure?
yes.
Okay, let's get that tape measure. So what I'd like to do, it's today, of course, you can have all different easy ways to do that, right? Technology will do it.
You scan it, it's in.
Yeah, but I have to tell you,
There's something magical when you hand one end of the tape measure to someone and say, let's measure this together.
dude, I've never had anyone not listen in
You
my
know,
life.
you're 100%.
I'm 100%. I'm
You
100%.
gotta get you on more appointments.
So I don't know, shoot, I carried like over 70 listings at one time. When I was in sales management,
All those years ago.
all those years ago, yeah. But the reason is because by the time we got through with that house, we're good, we're good. But they don't even need a presentation,
No,
right? But then I would say hold the tape measure. But how big a room do you think this is? Let's just do, okay. So I'm just placing furniture or I'm trying to just understand why.
this walking through the house, these are the moments where you can demonstrate you understand real estate. Whether it's a hollow core door or a solid core door. Did they do the tile all the way up to the ceiling in the shower? Is there crown molding? Did they bulldoze the granite? Did they refinish the cabinets or reface them? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go preview real estate. Because being able to point those things out, that shows your competency.
That's it.
What wouldn't you do?
Well, you wouldn't talk all the time. But you're gonna ask your way all the way through this.
Yes.
The needs analysis is about you asking, the walkthrough is you asking. You know, and I've heard people say, the 30-minute listing, I can get in and out in 30 minutes. And I'm looking up going, well, why would you do that?
Yeah, this is the fun part. It
Yeah.
took so long to get into the house. Like,
But number two, and that is, the more time you spend on the front end, the less time you ever have to spend after. And I use the analogy of old friendships, right? Someone you went to high school with, and now you haven't seen them in 30 years, and you run into them. And what's it like?
Like you just picked up where you left off.
Exactly. So just remember that when you put in some time on the front end of a relationship, it shortens the amount of time you have to spend thereafter in order to maintain that.
Okay.
And so you build all your trust, all your relationship on the front end. And then if you have an assistant, or if you just have a standard practice of every Thursday, I call all my sellers, right, blah, 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 whatever it is you do as a standard practice becomes easier because they know you, they like you, they trust you, they believe that you have their best interest, they understand your process, and your communications are all part of your brand promise that you're keeping.
Yes. Spot on.
Yeah.
Spot
Now
on.
it's easy, and you get referrals.
So I understand the needs. I've now done the walkthrough. I now get the opportunity to share who I am. So we're doing this because they want to understand who you are, how you got here.
That's right.
Why helping them is the professional driver of your life.
That's it.
You have to humanize.
You have to.
So
Tell your story. But the best way to do that is just tell your story. And the way you tell your story is, so let me tell you about myself. I'm actually from Houston, and I went to college, Baylor, ended up getting a real estate degree, and migrated to Austin. And blah, 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 here we go. And I just tell the story of whatever it was. And remember, I got real estate. I was 21 years old. I turned 22 after I got real estate. And I hadn't sold houses. I lived in an apartment. My washer and dryer were coin operated. I drove a Volkswagen Beetle that had no air conditioning. It just had heat.
yes.
And getting more than 3 people in that car was a real problem.
So Silvio says, it seems like now sellers just want to have a quick meeting. What do you do then? You're going to follow your process.
Your process overcomes that. You're not really going to ask that or allow that to stand. You're literally going to say, can we walk through the house? What they're going to discover is you're going to slow it down.
Yeah. It would be insane, by the way, to think you could value a property without walking through it.
Speeding it up is what price you're going to give me.
Yeah, and that cheapens the whole thing.
It gets you so off base.
So keep in mind, the reason this matters is.
But she is right. I mean, or he is right.
Yeah.
I mean, there isn't any question that people seem more hurried and want to spend less time in everything.
We're not talking about a 4-hour. This can be done incredibly effectively within an hour and a half, 2 hours, somewhere right in that range.
I would say an hour would be the minimum. And if you could get to an hour and a half with them, I think that would be really solid. And you're thinking, what are we going to talk about? Well, for 30 or 40 minutes, you're going to talk about the blooming house.
Okay.
You're right. Yeah, and then for at least 10 minutes or 15 minutes, you're going to talk about them. They're going to tell you all about them. Right?
The reason this matters, like the math shows, as 36% of sellers said reputation and 18% said honesty, which means 54% of the time who you are matters.
Yeah, but you have to be able to demonstrate that fast.
That's what this is. So how exactly do you do it? You just tell your story. We gave you the 5 points of the story that we think you can tell. The key here, don't talk too long because it becomes very ego-based very quickly if you're not succinct.
Well, here's the great thing again. Tell your story, tell your journey. Don't tell them you're the 5 reasons why they should do business with you. Let those reasons come up in the story. Don't tell them you're honest. Tell them your journey, and honesty will show up in it.
Hey, look, I guess when you talk about marriage, talking about your love and bride, who you are comes out in every one of the stories. And this thing.
The more times I talk about my relationship with my family or raising a child, I humanize me. And I demonstrate my values, my priorities, all of that.
Even on your planner, you have stickers and pictures on the exterior that mean something to you. And when you put it on the table, you're saying a lot without opening your mouth. Right?
My grandkids are on it now.
I know it, but that's because that's where you are now.
Of course.
So
Back with those kids.
So we now, so now we've told them who we are. We now have to get into the process.
That's right.
This is going to explain the full scope of your services and the journey that lies ahead. Because selling real estate is a multi-step process. When you're doing it, you're hoping to get clarity that they know that your process helps them accomplish their
Well, the
goals.
idea is that for the seller, you said, look, as fast as I can, I really do want to just walk you through the process of selling Festival. I've sold 5 homes in the past and say, we'll go fast, but I still want to go through and check the boxes, if that's okay with you.
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, there's 17 things that are going to happen. And I just want us to be prepared. You may say, I know all of this. If you'll just go with me for a few minutes, I just want to make sure that we're okay. Because this, by the way, that's how you can trust me. I won't short circuit. I won't shortcut. I will make sure that everything's going to be done on your behalf.
Yeah, the key here, by the way.
Did you hear how I said?
Oh, good. We're going to be giving, in the appendix to this course, you have 2 listing presentations and 2 buyer presentations
Yeah,
that are topical use.
totally good.
They all have a process page. 2 questions that came up. Number 1, Gary, this seems to be about value. We're talking about it. I'm a brand new agent. I love your advice. How can I stand out with my complete lack of experience?
Okay, I've already said it, and I'll say it again. You don't need experience. You need to understand what your brand promise is, what your services are that you're going to provide, and the workflow to deliver them. Answer those questions, and when you do, you won't ask that question.
There you go. Next question.
Because I had the same problem, right?
But you had a great line around being a professional.
I said, yes, I would tell people, yeah, well,
So Gary, you're new. How can I trust you to sell my
I'm
house?
young, man. These are all my parents' ages or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I said, look, I said, I know you're looking for a professional, and would it be okay if I told you my definition? So I believe a professional is someone who knows what they know, knows what they don't know, and knows the difference between the two. So when they know that, when I know it, I'll tell you. When I don't know, I won't fake it. I will go and I will find the right answer. Because my promise to you is I will always get you the right answer. If I know it, I'll tell you. If I don't know it, I'm a part of a very large organization. I have access to a lot of people to get the very best answer I could possibly get and come back and present that to you. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense.
Yeah, because I went right up front and said, I know, by the way, I don't know,
And I'm new.
but I have a license and I studied.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we know this. Our buddy Phil.
But I want to tell you, but I'm a professional.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, if it's okay, can I tell you what that is? And I'm off and running.
And if you believe, by the way, that you're new and this is there, don't wait for them to bring it up.
Oh, I did.
Phil Jones says, there's an elephant in the room. Put the elephant at the table.
Oh, sure.
Go right at it.
Oh, yeah, I walk in and they immediately looked at me. Even when I started our brokerage at 26, remember, I mean, you know, these people would come in and they'd go, wow, you know, aren't you young? You know, I get all kind of, you know.
No, I started when I was 19. I know what that was like.
Yes, you too, by the way.
Question.
By the way, people don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care. Your goal is to be a professional and you get right on into your services that provide the value and the workflow, the things that you're going to do to deliver those services. And if all of that makes sense to them, they're going to hire you. You need to realize that. The statistics say that buyers and sellers rarely talk to more than 2 people. And but on the majority of the time, they hire the first person they talk to.
100%. This is, so someone asked, do you believe in a 1-step or a 2-step listing process? This is a 1-step process. We're going there and working through our
I didn't have 2 steps. I mean, I understand the thinking behind it. And I understand the whole idea of pre-listing packages. I want you to go through all this before I get there and be prepared and all that. I get all of that. And if you believe in that or you like that, you go for it.
Okay. All right, Zane, by the way, says, I'm a new agent, but lead generation. Should I used to even get to the table to have a conversation? Zane, get the MREA Playbook Volume 1, Volume 2, and soon to be Volume 3 at MegaCamp, and go pick a play, whether it's open houses or social media.
I want you to, no, I want him to go pick several.
Pick 3 plays.
At minimum, I want you to pick 3 plays.
Yeah.
And just run them. Just run them. And by the way, so it's so funny, right? So I used to, I'm kind of a smart aleck, and I had training classes, Jason, and New Age training classes. And I would ask the students, I would say, let me ask you a question. Would you like to know where every buyer and seller is in the city right now?
Yeah.
Raise your hand. Every hand go up. So great. And then I pull a phone book, which we don't have anymore, right? I pull the phone book and I say, they're all right here. So when we talk about lead generation, what we're trying to do is to avoid starting at the A's and going to Z's. So we're trying to short circuit that. And there are easy methods to do that.
Zane, come to MegaCamp. We're going to absolutely go down every model you can imagine for lead generation. Okay, so we're explaining the process. We're going to explain what we do, how we do it, and here's the key. The value that that provides to the seller. It's not just a list of stuff we do. It's I do these things, and here's why it matters to you.
Yeah.
People are skipping that step, and it negates your value.
Yeah. I will make one other statement to those kind of questions, and that is go back and get the value squared book, right? And read it, and do the work in it, and you're done. What amazes me, and I don't mean this offensively, is people get into this profession and then they blankety blank won't work. They don't want to sit down and do any sort of thought process. And I'm not picking on anybody in particular, but I'm just saying that what set me out was I looked up and said, I got to do the work.
Yeah. This was your job. You didn't have any.
It's a job. I'm a professional. Dennis walks in and says, I haven't read the book. I got a license, but since then I've never studied anything about dentistry. I don't have to keep up to date on anything.
Open wide.
Open wide. And no, of course not. And by the way, did I enjoy it? Heck no. I hate that stuff.
Yeah.
Really?
I know.
Yeah. You just have to make yourself do it. You have to determine your value in your services. You have to.
You just got to name that Gary.
Yeah.
So you know it's good.
Well, I'm just saying.
This is the key. So you're going to lay out your value. What you're not going to do is attempt to do this without any sort of visual aid to show some proof. If you're going to describe all of these steps, you need to have a page that does it. And in the appendix for this course that you can find and connect, you have great examples.
Listen, the interesting thing is you could write down your steps on a legal pad and literally walk in and have them sitting there and go through it. They don't care. They don't give a, it's an open book test. They don't care. Number 2, put it all into a visual format. Get a 2-ring, 3-ring binder. Put it all in there and then just go through the binder and let the binder be your first presentation. By the 10th or 20th time, you will redo all of that. But that's how you get started.
You made the argument the other day, if you're nervous, you could list out the whole needs analysis and everything on the sheet of paper, walk in and say, I don't want to miss anything. And then just seeing you writing their answers would fill them with confidence.
Yeah, if it's okay, I'm gonna take notes. I want to make sure that I remember.
100%.
Yeah.
All right, so we've explained the process. Now we have to talk about what their houses are. This is a big deal. People want to know. So what's my homework is probably the primary question that people ask. The seller may believe what they already know the value, and you have to use a process to take them on a journey to either confirm or disconfirm.
That's right.
So what would that process be? Well, there's 3 main topics around it.
That's right.
Number 1, the current market and how this property sits within it. Number 2, how long it might take to sell and whether or not you have a time frame. And number 3, what things you've done to prepare the property for sale.
That's it.
That's it. So keep in mind, every single home is either selling their house or selling somebody else's. Here's what you wouldn't do. I got that. And here's what you wouldn't do. Don't attempt to do this without some data. This can't just be using the force.
No, you want data. Don't try to do it with your brain. Do it with information.
100%. And then finally, now that we've established the value of the house, we have to calculate a density. You have a couple of ways to do this. They need to know the math. You're either doing it by hand, using a computer tablet, or asking the title company. I'll say this, when you can do it by hand, there's a magic that happens. Because they see that you can add numbers. For some reason, it's very, very powerful. Now, finally, we decide to sell. This is the decision point. So should they sell? That's number one. And if they are, should they hire me?
But the thing is, if you've done everything up to this one, this is simply pull out the form. And it's so organic and natural to get to the paperwork when you've done everything that you just described, Jason. So it doesn't take any tricky, what's the line? What do I do? You literally look at it and say, you guys ready to get up with it? Ready to sell your home?
And that's the.
And it'll be a very natural thing.
That leads you right into this review and some.
You know, I read an article, the number one salesperson in Houston, this is back in 1979, by the way. They interviewed her and they said, what's your techniques? And she says, we're at the front door, we open it, and I say, folks, my only question to you is, why don't you buy this one?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
So, all right, the buy side goes fast. So you can sit tight for 10 minutes because here we go. If you're representing a buyer, you're going to find the right property that meets their time needs and get it at the best price with the fewest amount of hassles. So how am I going to do that? We laid this framework out in Value Square just like for sellers. The first step, maybe, is have the meeting. Have the strategy session.
Have a meeting. Try to get them to an office.
Yes.
Get them someplace.
It's designed to do two things. Identify the buyer's motivation and conduct the buyer needs analysis. We give you here the categories and we give you the questions. But notice the first question. Why are we meeting? That works on both sides.
Always.
Okay. So you're going to ask the questions and then boom, here's what we don't do. We don't overtalk and we don't make our needs worse. So once we do that, by the way, this is just telling you we have this appendix. We give you examples of buyer presentations. We're now back to explaining our process, just like we did with the seller. It's the same exact thing. We're going to lay out exactly what we do, how we do it in the value, and then how we get compensated.
And again, in Value Square, we lay this out, but it's literally just take all the steps that you're going to go through in helping them buy, list them out, and then just add, and I'm going to do blank to do that, and I'm going to do this to make that happen. This is how I'm going to handle that. This is how I'm going to handle that. That's your presentation.
That's it. And the key here, we're not just explaining things, we're assigning value to those things. Now we have to explain the whole buying process.
Now, you skipped over compensation.
Well, I said how you be compensated, but just let's remember all compensation is negotiable. And a simple question, do you know how I get compensated? Might be the easiest way to enter into that discussion.
Or, Jason, can I share with you how I get compensated?
I don't know.
Yes. Here's the cost of my services. We're going to ask on the role play, right? We're going to be asking the seller to pay for those.
Perfect. By the way, Ellen wants to know, where would you find the needs assessment form? Ellen, we were suggesting you go back and you look at all the questions we asked and you just write them out. But there'll also be the appendix of this course, which will be in Connect. Joseph, that will answer your questions. Right here, we're explaining our process. In the next step, we're explaining the home buying process. That's really important because there's a lot of steps in the home buying process they need to understand because we're not in control of it. So we have to go through, we wrote this into two sections. Educate on the market and then set expectations. And all we're doing here is explaining to them what's going to happen. And again, having this as a game board of some sort so they can see how this process works is the key.
Can I tell you a story? So one of the first buyers I ever sold was a young couple I met through the Chamber of Commerce. I just joined the Chamber of Commerce, by the way, and sold 3 houses.
Makes the argument to still
There
join.
were 3 realtors on the board. I'm the only one who house. By the way, Steve and Denise Sockler. And I was supposed to, we'd gone through, you know, everything. What's your wants? What are your needs? All of that. I was supposed to meet them the next morning, and I didn't have anything to show them. We were fixing to go look at new houses, new construction. And that's not what they wanted. They wanted to be in the older part of Austin. They wanted an old house. There wasn't anything for sale that I could find. So I show up at their apartment, and they immediately say, hey, we drove by and saw a house on this street. can we go look at that? Well, I didn't tell him there's nothing to look at. I said, sure, let's go. And we drove up, and it was an amazing looking house. I said, stay. Saturday morning. It's 9 a.m. I go knock on the door. A woman comes in the house coat with little kids at her feet. I said, now, I'm Gary Keller, real estate business. I have a couple.
What's that house code?
You know, it's a road.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, so, I'm showing my age.
I know what it was.
Yeah, sorry. So, yeah, so anyway, I said, I had to shut a couple of sitting in the car, the softlers, and we drove by their home and saw it for sale sign. It's not listed, it's not in the odds. She said, it's for sale. We just, it's going on the market today.
Okay.
Right? The sign went up last night, it's going on the market today. And I went, there any chance I could see her? From the outside, this looks like the perfect house for you. She said, no, Saturday morning, we're having breakfast. So wait, long story short. So I said, well, how about 10 o'clock? She said, sure. So what did I do? I went back out the car. We backed up out of their line of sight and we sat right there.
You're on guard.
On guard. If anybody showed up and tried to make a run at that house,
You're gonna
I
go.
was gonna pull my car up and go right there with them. So no one showed up. 10 o'clock, I knocked on the door. She said, please come in. We go through the house. We get to the little living room. And Denise, they're not married yet. And Denise pinches, Steve's arm. I remember it. And she goes, and I just think this is the first one. He said,
Oh, and for her, that was a scary proposition.
no, oh, no. She was thinking, we're gonna go see 5 or 10 of these and get to pick something.
Got it.
I said, guys, sit down. And I pulled out my needs and my wants sheet and I handed it to them. I said, guys, this house has everything you need. Plus everything you need. And I said, I need to share something. I had nothing else to show you. And then, by the way, the next person who sees this house is gonna buy it.
True story.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to decide right now, is this the house? If you're willing to lose it, we'll drive on and go look at new construction. There is nothing else. Or we can make the decision because it meets all of your needs and all of your wants. And we can try to buy it. The price seems great. What do you say?
What happened?
Would have bought it. We're in the contract. Never left. I waited for the agent to meet the amounts.
It's so good. Remember when you used to hand deliver offers?
Yeah.
It's getting old.
Um,
What wouldn't you do? Don't just talk about the process, talk through it and answer any questions they have. So now we have to pre-qualify. I literally watched you do this with a Texas Instrument financial calculator.
Sure, well, we were taught back in the day on how to pre-qualify buyers, right? But today, but by the way, even being taught that, Jason, it didn't take me long before I just had a relationship with Scott, the loan officer.
But here's what you do different. A lot of folks will say, call my lender and let me know what they say.
No,
That's not your move.
no, because I lose control. I don't lose control.
That's right.
But what? No, we're not gonna do that. No, I had Scott on standby that, hey, I have a couple coming in, or I got a lead or whatever, blah, 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 blah. And he knew that if I called him, you know, what was gonna happen as put him on speakerphone. This is the day of landlines.
Yes.
Like, and,
We go through
and
it.
then he pre-qualified them right in front of me. And I said, do you guys mind if I stay? Maybe I can help. Or if it's just private between the two of you, I'll step out and come back.
Randy says, as a new agent, this information is helping me feel a bit more confident.
Yeah.
Well, there it is.
Well, remember again, pro, you don't have to know the answers. You're just a service person. You could show up someone's house and say, you know, I don't know jack squat about any of this, but I am the most loyal, humble servant you'll ever hire, and I will get you the best answers for everything.
Be one heck of an approach,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
By the way, you're doing this to make sure that they're qualified, because the worst thing is when you go show a ton of houses, people get their hopes and dreams up, and then they get on.
They need to be qualified.
Now,
Maybe that depends on the price range and it's what price car they're driving and all of that.
now they're making the decision on whether or not to buy. If they decide to buy, here we go. We'd like it to be us.
And let me just stop and say that there will be people that will make an argument to you that based on the price of property they're looking at, this process changes.
That hasn't been my experience.
It's not mine either, by the way. That's not mine either.
And I've sold more homes to professional athletes than anyone there is.
Yeah.
And this was the process that I used.
Yeah. You didn't cheat, did you?
I didn't
And
change.
you were selling names.
Yes, yes, this one works. And now it's time to review and sign buyer's agents. And like you said, they should understand completely all of it, including compensation, which is 100% negotiable. And we're off and running. Last step here is to make sure that they arrange financing, whether it's with the lender that you refer to.
If you pre-qualify them with a lender right up front, that's the easiest and fastest. It leaves you in control. It is a value you provide. If you use a mortgage company, they'll shop the loan. If you go to a bank, that's taking them to one source of money.
Sure.
Yes, you go to a mortgage banker, right? They have lots of sources. They can pre-qualify.
Nathan wants to know, when did you get into the pro athlete market? Nathan, go watch Scoring the Deal.
Yay!
It was on HGTV. You can find it on Hulu or on YouTube, and you will get the whole story. You and my mother.
Movie star.
You'll be the only ones who watch the show.
You were a child star.
Yes, I was. That was my
So you're on the show now. How child stars turned out later in life.
Where are they now?
Where are they now?
Which one's doing the pizza?
Where's Jason?
Right, washed up. Okay, so we made it through the seller.
Yeah.
We made it through the buyer.
Yeah.
Put all this together for you. This is.
Well, hang on. You gotta tell the story. We're closing up, right? We're ready to leave. He doesn't know your story. You gotta tell the story of how you got the deal
Oh, so,
and then what you did with the football. So you
really,
gotta tell the story.
in a quick way, I went to.
How old were you?
I was, we're getting into interview mode here. I was in my late 20s,
Okay.
and I went to a KW family reunion.
Yep.
And I met a person, who,
An event, not
an event,
much different than mega camp. Everybody should come.
incredibly simple. And she represented professional athletes when they moved to Miami.
Yeah.
And she had put an athlete under contract in a house. And then lo and behold, the football gods had spoken, and this athlete became a Detroit Lion in the last month. So she said, will you work with this person and split the money with me 50-50? I said, of course. The athlete was flying in. I couldn't show him home, so I ran in. So I rented a limousine. I showed him 3 houses. And he bought the most expensive Toll Brothers new construction home to ever sell in the state of Michigan. And I couldn't, I'd never seen a home like that.
Right.
And it was off and running. I then flew out after the closing unannounced to say thank you to his agents and his financial advisor.
Yeah.
And no one had ever done that.
Yeah, but you gotta tell the story about the football.
Well, I brought the autographed football.
Yeah, but then you told me that when you got there and you looked around, you realized his agents had us sign football.
He had footballs everywhere. And I held this football on a plate in LA like it was like my child. Got it there, and it was like, but it wasn't the gift. It was that he couldn't believe that I did it. And 2 weeks later, he called and said, I got another one coming. I represented them, and a week after that, they called and said, do you work anywhere other than Michigan?
Yes.
I said, I work everywhere. And 3 years later, we were the largest in the world with professional athletic relocation.
Yeah, and you were flying around.
Man,
Too much.
yeah, it was the last face you saw when you left your city and the first face you saw when you got ready to go.
Yeah.
Here's the interesting thing. People told me when I got my real estate license that, this isn't a full-time job. At that time, they were making fun of me at that time. My friends were all going to college.
Mm-hmm.
And I got that license. And it didn't just take me down the street. It took me to 4 different continents and sell houses. It's taken me all around the world. It's the greatest industry.
I know. So my story, by the way, is when I was 24 years old, not quite 25, when I was 24. I listed the 6th largest home builder in the entire city, developer, builder, Walter Carrington.
You can say you had all those.
I thought he was old as dust. He was like 65. And I'm 68. You're like, yeah. But this is how I got into new construction with all these listings.
You figured it out fast.
Yeah, but he hired me. He hired this kid who was barely 24 years old to represent him everywhere.
Why?
Because I'm a professional. And he saw in me a servant. I promise you what he saw, that I was willing to do anything. Yeah.
You sold a lot of those houses.
Yeah, sold a lot of houses.
So tie this all together, because this it may be the most important page in the document. Why did you write this?
Oh, just,
Because mantras matter. Programming our brain, training our brain to think a certain way, is really important. So the things that we tell ourselves, if we say it long enough, it becomes a fact in our head. It becomes, right? Our brain accepts it as true now.
So mantras, but for the longest time you fought mantras.
Well, because they're cheesy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a money magnet. Who the deuce says that? So you hear all of these cheesy, silly, what I think are silly mantras that, you know, make no sense to me. But this idea that I'm a professional, no, that's a good name for, you should say that a million times. So we just wrote a quick mantra for the listing agent, for buyers and sellers. I work, and this is it. I work by agreement. I list both buyers and sellers. I reach agreement through presentation and consultation. Relationships drive my business and agreements define my business relationships. Presentation delivers information and consultation drives discovery. My current listing skills determine my current opportunity,
That's a big one.
and my willingness to learn, grow, and practice determines my future opportunity. I'm committed to growth. I'm on the path to mastery. I list to last. Yeah, you could take this sheet of Xerox and stick it up on your mirror and say it 100 times and internalize this idea that I list buyers and sellers, right? And I reach agreement through presentation and consultation. That relationships drive my business, agreements define what my business are, who the relationships are, right? Presentation delivers information, consultation makes people make discoveries and decisions. I'm using my list. You literally.
This is it.
This is it. And I believe the reason why you and I were both successful at very young ages is we internalized all of this quickly. We internalized it, and we did the work of learning as we went. I mean, look, you can't learn everything before you go on your first buyer or seller appointment.
No.
So you literally have to be prepared to say with great humbleness, Jason, that's a great question. And before I give you an answer, I'd like to go double check. Would it be okay if I got back to you in the next 24 hours with that? And if there's any other questions that I'm not certain of, I will get back with you in 24 hours.
Lots of people are responding to the mantra. They really like it.
Okay, me too.
Love it. All right, gang, here's the reality. Over time, the professionals that internalize the idea that you need to list and last have the longest and most fulfilling careers in real estate.
No question about that.
Every day, we need to wake up and practice our skills. Here's what we want. The more confident, comfortable you get with your presentation,
Yes.
the more presentations you'll find yourself on.
Yes.
That's it.
That's it. Well said.
All right, gang, we love you. Go list to last. Give us a week or so, and this will all be updated in Connect. Hope that you enjoy.